Hello all, welcome back to Words and Pictures for a few minutes of fun. As you can see, I've already been hard at it today. Painty fingers, always the sign of a good time. I'm going to take a couple of the gel prints we made a couple of weeks ago and take them on to the next set of a bit of stamping using my Winter Botanicals. And this is partly because I'm on a brief. I need to create some wall art for the PaperArtsy display stand. And so today I thought, why not have you join me? So I have got my 3 November releases of the Winter Botanicals, EAB 42, the Winter Grasses, EAB 43, the Winter Teasels, and EAB 44, the Winter Umbels. And I'm going to use some of the texture, some of the ephemera, I hope, but principally these botanical stems. And I think it's 3 panels because I need 1 for each stamp set. That's how it's going to work. So I'm thinking that these 2 are quite similar backgrounds and would make quite a nice, well, maybe I want some of that textured one in there. Maybe I'll make enough so that I've got a choice, but I think I'm going to leave the sort of twilighty ones for another day that had the blue in. I'm going to leave that lovely landscape one for another day. I'm going to leave the nice splotchy one for another day. And I think for these, what I want to do is, rather than have them square, I'm going to go for vertical panels. Could be horizontal. No, I think it's going to be vertical. So rather than cut those with the scissors, well, I could, because the 6x6 of the gel plate is already there. I could just be bold and go snip, snip, snip. But to get completely straight lines, I think I'm just going to nip over to the little guillotine, do that, and I'll be back with 4 panels to stamp on. Back in a sec. I've changed my mind again. I was thinking I would go for vertical panels, but I think I want to keep them as the full square. I think, given the size of some of these stamps, particularly this Umbel, it's really nice to give it a bit of room to spread out. If it were on half that size, then it's not even going to go on. I mean, I do love a partial stamping, don't get me wrong. I love that. And I'm also starting to think maybe I don't want to go full on ephemera and everything. Maybe I do want to keep things pretty much as simple as they are in some of these prints, with a stamping and some of the poetry fragments. So the colours I probably want to stamp in are fairly neutral. There's my Archival ground espresso that's been topped up from a re-inker onto an empty ink pad. So that's the distressed ground espresso, but in archival form. I quite like potting soil. That's a nice neutral. If I wanted background colour, so creating depth, I think probably it's going to be Pebble Beach. And all of those tone in rather beautifully with the ash coloured matint that is at the base of some of these prints. If you missed the gel printing video that I mentioned at the beginning, I will of course have that linked in the description below, so take a look. I'm just gonna do it. I'm not going to think too hard. I'm just going to go, and I'm going to start with the Umbel because the Umbel makes me happy. As planned, I'm going to stick to principally 1 for 42, 1 for 43, 1 for 44, and then maybe we'll do a mixed one where we get multiple stampings in. I'm going to start with maybe ground espresso, just for a lovely earthy stamping of this Winter Umbel. So let's have you coming in from this side, because you've got a lovely lean to you in that direction. They're delicate and beautiful, but I might want a bit more oomph if we're coming off the wall. So I'm going to whack on piece of paper. Quick. It's going to be dry. It's not going to work. Not in time to get on embossing powder in primary bark, because this is archival ink. If I'd stamped in distress, it would still be wet. Phew. Yeah, so given we're working on wall art, something that's going to be on display, I think you want that little bit of extra oomph going on. which means that for that background stamping, maybe Pebble Beach is too subtle. I want something a little bit more. I might go for another one of these stems, just coming in a little bit more from below. And because they've got these lovely loose stems, you can adjust, yay, the direction that that flower is growing in. So I'm going to pop that here, coming in from below, like so, and get on another bit of primary bark with a little more alacrity this time. Make sure it hits all those stems, and down it goes. Grand. Do that just like that. That already makes me happy. I might put on my other main stems and then go off camera and do all the heat embossing with the heat tool. Sorry, it might be one of my favourite stamps I've drawn ever, and I just love that I can have it anytime I want and I don't have to draw it all over again. Good, I need to remember that that's got powder and I don't want to get it in a mess. I think on this one, on this lovely textured one, I might go with the grasses. Where's my grasses? Winter grasses. That's 42, so that's this lovely tall grass stem. It doesn't even fit straight on that stamping grid. It needs to go diagonally. So let's stick to simplicity for now. Let's stick to the same game of the primary bark embossing powder, because I think what it does is it just lets the stamps themselves say hello. So I'll do a nice tall one up there. And I might try and go straight back in, so it's all in one go, with one coming at an angle, like so. So rather than coming in from the two sides, the variation and repetition in this case is that it's coming just from that one side of that grid. Powder on. Oh, I'm running out of primary bark, and from what I can make out, it's been discontinued, so that will make me very sad when that runs out. It's such a great embossing powder for just really beefing up an image, but without being black. Without being black. And then the third one we want are the Teasels. So given I've got those coming in from both sides, those coming in from one side, which one do I want to use? This one or this one? This one. I think the Teasels are going to have to come in from here. That's the way the cookie crumbles. Down goes that. I am probably in a minute going to add some of the, so each stamp set comes with the large size and the small size of those, so that you can create perspective, or you can just create little makes and big bakes. Big makes. Let's grab those. And again, just keep it simple. Oh, I seem to be stamping in potting soil rather than ground espresso now, but it absolutely doesn't matter given I'm putting embossing powder over the top. The colour of the ink is basically immaterial. And I think we'll have those just coming up in a nice, almost central, off-centre way, doing that. These need a good firm pressure because it's a really detailed stamp in the centre. Those teasel thistles, prickles are quite detailed. There we go. Let's get the primary bark on. So I do like the colour of that potting soil stamping. It's just got a bit more oomph than the ground espresso. It may be that my ground espresso needs re-inking. That could be what's going on there. So I think if I were to do my layered stamping with the potting soil, that might be enough even for something that is going to be up on a wall. Right, there's my 3 panels with their embossing powder loose on it at the moment, so I'm going to stop and heat those to melt my embossing powder, and I'll be back when that's done. Great, so those are all set, they're going nowhere, and they've also got that delicious little bit of embossed glossiness catching the light, which is always a treat. So layering in potting soil stamping, not ground espresso, I'm going to grab the little Teasels and just have those create a little sort of background, a bit of teasel in a sort of slope, I think is my aim. So it's going to be a repeat stamping of these little Teasels in the potting soil, because I want them in the background, so my dark embossed image is the head of the focus, and I'm just going to slightly sort of alter the angle each time I stamp them. So one goes there, one goes here, and as you can see I'm sort of moving downwards just to create a sense of perspective as well. And one at that angle goes there. I might put a little extra one up the top here, and I might layer another one over this corner. Still thinking about that. I'm going to have one that goes up a little taller here, right on the edge. And yeah, I think I probably do want to do that. So that you're just creating a hedgerow for it to grow out of. Lots and lots of ink on the mat, that's fine. We'll just wipe it away. And it's just going to be a similar thing on the others, I think. I think you know me and my love of the poetry. Visual poetry of repetition and variation. That old refrain. So let's use some of that. Yeah, there's just a simplicity to allowing it to be an echo. So on this one, let's take our Winter Umbels little version. Really, really detailed stamp next to that winter frosty texture. Just a treat of a detail stamp. It's great on ATCs as well. All planned, obviously. Now, I think on this one, I don't know that I want too much stem going on. I mean, having said that, the tiny Teasels are pretty detailed as well. Let's have you there next. And this one, I might go all the way along with this one, because I do love it, as you can tell. And it's as though we're sort of looking at across the meadow at the profusion of dancing umbel heads, even in their winter form, even in their skeletal seed head form. They have that beauty. Yeah, that makes me happy. Grand. A little bit of water. If you do end up with archival ink or something that seems like it doesn't want to come off, a little bit of rubbing alcohol will very often do the job. I'm just in the habit of cleaning up in between time. It clears the decks and it allows my brain a moment of clearing so that I can move to the next requirement and now be focused on the winter grasses. Where are my mini winter grasses? There they are. So again, winter textures, that's a bark texture on that one. Let's get you out. And I'm going to stick to the potting soil because I'm enjoying this effect of the major image coming forward and the smaller one just drifting into the background. This one, I think what we want is we just want a few tendrils around the base of here. And maybe we go over this side for a taller version of it, like so. And again, that space in the middle just gives us a moment of breath or a path to walk down. See, that's where I could go walking. It's down that little gap in between. I think it's because I've been working with matints on this mat now. There's a slight stickiness that I will address with some rubbing alcohol at some point. Otherwise that'll be long lasting. Right, lid onto you. Where are we at? Yes, nice, happy. And then I think in terms of stamping the words, even though it's risky because stamping in distress ink means it's always vulnerable to moisture, I think it might be a question of the scorched timber. Or we could go for something tone on tone, maybe something pink, but you know what'll happen if I start stamping in pink. I'll get scared partway through. So the poetry fragments on these, the smaller texts, are fragments from various poems. There's a Thomas Hardy, Robert Bridges, there's some Emily Dickinson on some of these. If you go to any of the launch posts, they're all absolutely listed. That's Emily Dickinson there, the landscape listeners. So on each of these, and then the large words are just ones that I've chosen that came to me as part of this theme of things like winter sunrises, those moments of winter hibernation, renewal. So I'm thinking I'll just do a couple of words, maybe a large and a small, or two larges or two smalls on each of these. I think I like the idea of the stillness of the solemn air, and I think it might be dawn. So I think it's going to be dawn and the stillness of the solemn air. Let's see if I can find those. Dawn, down the bottom, I see it. And it could go large word, small words, or it could go small words, large words. I think it's that way up, probably. I mean, I know they're going to be the other way up when they actually get on the page. And dawn. Maybe it'd be better to stamp them separately so that I can choose my positioning more precisely. I think that'll probably do the trick. Oh, you see, you clearly don't want to happen now, so we'll go one at a time. So let's ink up dawn. And go down in amongst, I think, the teasels. So this being cheap paper, I think, is the reason that has spread out a little bit. So it's a risk now. If I choose to use it with the small words as well, which are very detailed, I'm going to make sure I don't press too hard, which means it's a risk in the other direction, because I might not get the full stamping. And I think I want that sort of fairly centrally positioned over the dawn. Few. That worked. Good. So picking some words for the others, make sure we tuck those back in the right stamp set. So on the winter grasses, what are the words that we've got? Winter, rest, twilight. Well, it's clearly not twilight, it's sunrise. Frosted stem and spray. That would work if I'd embossed in white. They would be frosted. I think it might be not a sound but a listening air. There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons. That's nice as well. I think that's definitely Emily Dickinson, because the poem is called There's a Certain Slant of Light. And that's very often just the first line of her poem is also the title. There's a certain slant of light, winter afternoons. I think it's winter, not a sound but a listening air. This is what I love about having these word fragments, is that you can create little poems. That's a whole new poem. The stillness of the solemn air, dawn. And is that the right one? Yes, not a sound but a listening air. So given the positioning of these, where do we want winter? Yeah, okay, I think it's something like that on that one for the sake of argument. So let's get you, let's maybe have you on a smaller one. There's really no need to have you on that huge great grid block. So the grid blocks have grids on, which is supposed to help you line things up straight. I'm never very good at remembering to do that. Never very good at remembering to use the grid lineups. But here we go with winter. With words, just a little double check to make sure you're the right way up is helpful. And again, we're going to nestle that in between the plant stems. Oh, sorry, that wasn't about the beauty of the stamps I've designed. That was just about the beauty of simplicity. I was originally thinking, oh, I need to have these have lots of colour and all of that business, but actually the brown on the pink, and because it's such dark brown, scorched timber and this primary bark are sort of somewhere between black and brown, just checking I'm the right way up. Somewhere between black and brown, and so they have this beautiful, cool depth to them. Phew. It's always a heart in the mouth moment when you stamp words, because, you know, you could blotch them, you could smudge them, you could have them not quite straight. Not quite straight is not a problem to me, frankly. Okay, I think we have to have the word sunrise. Colours from the frozen earth. Well, it's well, the sunrise is colours from the frozen earth. Maybe we have 3 here because we've got a bit more space. So maybe we'll go sunrise, colours from the frozen earth, stillness, or vice versa. Yeah, I think I like the idea of that because we have got a bit more room here. So there's sunrise. Where's colours from the frozen earth? Is it that one? No, that one says the beauty of the shadow. No, we don't want these. We want colours from the frozen earth, which must therefore be this one. And I think we want stillness as well. So let's go. Colours from the earth, frozen earth is going to go sort of there. Sunrise above and stillness below. I think that'll be quite nice. It could go lower down. Let's have a look at it there. No, I think that's a little unbalanced. What about if we did the first bit of the poem and then a pause and then the other word? Ooh, that's nice. So it's a visual pause before you find the word stillness. Yep, done, sold. So let's move you out of the way. Let's go with sunrise first of all. Ah, maybe it's the other way around. Look, it's stillness, colours from the frozen earth. Why? Sunrise. Yeah, good, okay. Yeah, I'm sorry, this is how it works in my world of words and pictures. The order is important, the rhythm is important, and so that visual positioning is part of the poem. And that's true, lots of poets write so that on the page, where things are on the page matters. A word that is on the beginning or the end of a line in a poem has more weight than words that are just in the middle of the line. And you can bet your bottom dollar that any decent poet knows what they're doing when they position those words. Stillness, colours from the frozen earth, pause, sunrise. Where does it go? Hang on. That way? No. Directly underneath? No. Slightly to the left? Yes. Hoo-hoo, happy. There's going to be some spatter on these. You know there is. And maybe a little ephemera stamping. I kind of don't want to fiddle with them, to be honest. I'm enjoying the simplicity of that. And because the stamps themselves are so detailed, sometimes you just want to leave it at that. Yep, good. What I am going to do is probably mount them on some white card because they're only on flimsy copy paper at the moment. And that will give them a bit more durability. It will flatten them. But before I do that, it's spatter time. So a little bit of snowflake fresco paint onto the mat. You know how this works by now. If you don't, you clearly haven't watched enough of my videos. So there it goes. Just check it off before we take it on. There's a winter sunrise for you. Pick up a little bit more. This one's already got this lovely texture in from that print in the background, but there's no harm in a little extra spatter. And now it's snowing. Look at that. There, oh, I do need to be a little careful, because remember, those words are only stamped in distress. What I might do when the paint has dried is just rub my finger over with a little bit of distress microglaze, because that will set and protect those words. Grand. I think that might do the job. So there they are. Teasels, umbels, grasses, a little bit of snow in the air. I'm going to mount those, and then I'll dive in for a little close-up so you can see some of those print textures and the detail on those stamps. Do leave any comments or questions. As always, I'll try to leave links and product details in the description below. And I hope you've enjoyed that little journey into what's going to be up on the wall on the PaperArtsy stand for trade shows and anything else they do over the course of the next probably year or so. We'll see. But then there'll be new stamps, and then there'll need to be new projects. Thank you so much for your company on this creative journey. Thanks for watching, and happy crafting all.